证明，不仅是中国队，包括其他队。
월드 챔피언십을 오게 돼서 굉장히 기쁘고 영광이에요.
That's the hook that counts. That is going to be let going down.
We've worked all year for this. I'm ready to play. They managed to catch out down the corner. He will go down. The three-man ultimate coming out from it.
Nyph was a fantastic week. Let's see what Singapore brings.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to day 2 of the 2014 League of Legends World Championship. Once again, we're coming to you live from the Singapore Expo, where rivalries, both old and new, are heating up. Today, 8 teams will continue to do battle for a spot in the quarterfinals in their quest to become the best in the world. Currently looking at shots just from moments ago. Najin White Shield in their ready room. Alliance as well, getting themselves warmed up and ready for both of the games they will be playing today. Welcome, guys. My name is Trevor Quickshot Henry, and on the analyst desk for our first 3 games of the day will be Evil Genius's Mitch Crepo Forceballs. Next in line, CLG's Peter Doublelift Peng, Neil Prolly Hamad from Complexity, and rounding out the table, it's OGN's caster Christopher Monte Cristo Michaels. Guys, we're only 1 day into the Singapore group stage, and it's delivered a few surprises, definitely Alliance in my mind. I want to talk to you guys about what your impressions are coming out of day 1, coming out of group C and D. Let's start with Doublelift. What's your take in Singapore?
Well, so far, NA is a lot stronger than expected. 4-0 in their first day. It's like kind of a debut because you didn't really know what to expect from Taipei, because TSM, their group was kind of weird. They ended up taking 2nd seed, but LMQ showed up way stronger than anyone expected. Everyone had kind of discounted them except for Crumbs, and we were all proven wrong.
It's a good day to be a mediocre player in NA because the top is doing a lot better.
It validates your performance a little bit. Hey, it validates mine a little bit too. So, but yeah, I have to say, I have to eat a little crow. Like, Zhao, I ranked him 4th, but this guy has really delivered on day 1. He looked just spectacular. I'm looking forward and not looking forward to the Samsung Blue later today because both him and Dade, it'll probably be the most boring lane of all time, but it should be spectacular once the team fights start.
And we'll have to see how their plays are. What about some of the European mid laners, probably? They really didn't deliver in my mind.
Yeah, not to be the downer of the group since everyone's talking about how well people are doing. Yeah, I was really just surprised with Froggen and XPK. I was expecting like some star-studded show, and I really didn't get that. And I think coming into today, this is their time kind of to prove everyone wrong with what happened yesterday.
Yeah, I do think Froggen just has a lot of room just like to step up. I mean, he played Zefa, which is a passive champion. I think if we put him on something else, he'll do a lot better. But what I learned from yesterday and just from all the games is just the Koreans are so good outside of laning phase. Regardless whether they win their lane or not, lose their lane or not, once the 15-minute mark hits and the map is being played instead of the players, they do it so well. The vision is good, the rotations, the side wave control, just everything goes just the way as planned.
Yeah, this is what kind of drives me nuts, is a lot of people will say, oh yeah, you know, we can really keep up in the laning phase. I'm like, hey guys, this is a team game. And so when you play as a team, That's what actually causes you to win games.
Killing nexuses that actually gets you those wins. So you've heard what our analysts have had to say, but I want to ask you guys at home on Twitter, what surprised you the most from day one of Singapore and why? Send in your answers to @LOL Esports. Throw on that hashtag Worlds and we'll actually read the cream of the crop a little later in the show. There was a treasure trove of huge moments to choose from over on Twitter thanks to your guys' hashtag Worlds Big Plays. So let's highlight a few of them, starting with our first one that comes from the battle of the LCS with LMQ versus Fnatic. @TayQT's writes, it was so much more. See what you did there. It was, and he hooked your number 3. Let's roll the play.
That LMQ won't try a hard force. And also, just faith in Xerath. I think it's very hard to bear against Xerath. That isn't going to last for long.
Oh, more coming into LMQ right now, and that is a hit up.
Death Sentence obviously comes out of the fog for Kaek. That means Xiao can follow in. There was nothing there from Fnatic.
That was just a spectacular play. I mean, Thresh coming over the wall, but the wind wall setup in advance, and then the immediate Rumble ult as well. Just such a clean tower dive. And, you know, honestly, LMQ did that so well. I had hoped to see more of that from Cloud9. They weren't as aggressive on the tower plays as they could have been in their game versus Alliance. That's where they have to step up. But, man, LMQ is looking clean.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they can keep that up. They play Samsung Blue at the end of the day. Right, earlier in the day, it was also LMQ, this time against OMG. And @Raziloner, wow, Vasily First Blood and Dragon Steel. The Plague Rat player is your number 2.
Drops to the side. Going tanking of the dragon, taken very low. Vasily fancies this one. He comes around the side. Vasily steals the dragon.
Let's take a look at this burst from Vasily.
Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and just the balls on that guy. I mean, what is there to say? One auto attack, it was very lucky. One auto attack giving you a 1,000 gold advantage is ridiculous. But the balls on Vasily and just the way he played yesterday was spectacular.
It definitely worked out. Most valuable auto attack. Right. Finally, from Samsung Blue versus OMG, @Bruno Marvs, he tweets, that play. Spirit Dragon's Rage into Dade Last Breath. Holy moly.
Molly.
Here's your number 1.
So looking for the drawn-out, spread-out team fights here. Trying to get the little skirmishes, but it goes Spirit!
Straight on, perfectly placed on towards Cool. They get themselves a double.
Blue, as soon as they group up, huge advantage.
Boom.
Take that combo.
Such a great tower dive. You guys at home, remember to keep a lookout for more of those highlights to share with us throughout our games today. To share them on Twitter, use that hashtag WorldsBigPlays when sending them in. We also want to take a minute to salute the players who sort of laced up their dancing shoes and brought the fancy footwork to escape death's embrace in today's edition of Dem Dukes. The first one, Samsung Blue versus OMG. Ggoong dodges that Lee Sin Q.
And this guy, just a testament to his mechanics. He hits S and dodges this Sonic Wave on reaction. I mean, the reaction time on this guy is ridiculous. It wasn't a prediction, it was a complete reaction.
Well played by Ggoong. Next one, Fnatic versus LMQ. More with some jukes.
And the 8 of a wind wall. But yeah, he decides if the first one gets hit by the next one. And then yeah, 1 out of 3 is definitely on the lower rate of the Xerath ultis we've seen.
Manages to get some help from teammates, still counts. Coming up today, guys, we do have 6 games lined up for your viewing pleasure, and it's going to start with Korea's 3rd seed, Najin White Shield, taking on Europe's Summer Champs Alliance. After that, it's Samsung Blue taking on Fnatic, and then Najin White Shield step back into the arena to battle the North American Cloud9. As always, you guys can find the complete schedule over on lolesports.com. While you're there, cast your vote for who you think will win each match by clicking the thumbs up, and if you've missed any of the action, click through to our VODs page for all of the games from Taipei as well as Singapore, and they are all spoiler-free. Now, as we turn to our first match of the day, Najin White Shield will devote special attention to one player in particular because they believe the road to the quarterfinals passes through Alliance's mid lane.
프로겐 선수는 지금 저희 조에서 거의 제일 강한 미드로 손꼽히고 계시는데
계속 꾸준한 실력을 보여왔고 지금 또 다시 전성기를 찾은 것 같아요. 얼라이언스 팀의 중심으로서.
해외 페이커다 막 이러면서 얘기를 하잖아요. 솔로 랭크에서 만난 적이 있어요. 그때 한창 애니비아 하실 때였는데 되게 잘했던 기억이 나거든요.
항상 남들보다 더 많은 파밍을 할 수 있는 선수였고, 그리고 그 강점을 이용한 스킬샷이나 이런 게 좀 완벽했기 때문에 항상 팀에서 미드를 강하게 지키면서 좀 팀을 캐리하는 역할을 맡았는데 그런 걸 보고 많이 배웠었어요.
첫 챔피언스를 참가하게 됐는데 저희가 그때 4강에서 CLG EU 팀을 만나게 됐었어요. 그때 프로겐 선수가 되게 잘하셔가지고 저희가 4강에서 떨어지고 3위를 하게 됐던 경험이 있어요. 인상 깊었던 선수였고 그걸 이번에 D조에서 풀기 위해 열심히 준비했어요.
Great to hear the team talking quite highly of Froggen and putting a target on his back, but he needs to step up from yesterday's performance if he wants to do anything. We'll talk about that in a second. It is our first match of the day. It's going to be Najin White Shield against the European LCS Team Alliance. Interestingly, this is the first time in the 2014 World Championship that an LCS team will be doing battle with a Korean squad, and that Korean squad is Najin. They're 1-0 in the group stage. They took down Kaboom yesterday, and I feel that this is their first real test at Worlds. Because, yes, they beat Kaboom yesterday, but now they're up against Alliance, and I think Alliance will have something to prove.
Yeah, Najin White Shield, for those of you who are unfamiliar, are a team that's all about tempo and control in the game. They're not as flashy as Samsung White, but even then they still play a lot of assassins. And when we look at Ggoong Zed yesterday, this is really a core pick as of recently for this player. We talk about Ggoong having a relatively small champion pool, but he really excels on these high mechanic assassins or burst champions. Used to play a lot of Nidalee and LeBlanc. Now he's back to Ahri, which is one of his old school picks, and he's picked up Zed as well. And his Zed game was very conservative in the laning phase, but he really broke out afterwards and made some big plays.
Yeah, I know yesterday I kind of knocked it incorrectly about his Zed taking the door and shield, but it makes more sense watching the Korean teams how they play laning phase. They were just trying to get to their item spikes and then team fight, so he's not focused on making the big plays in lane.
I convinced you, didn't I, probably?
Yeah.
A little bit of a debate. Alliance, on the other hand, they struggled. They did not look strategically adept against Cloud9, despite some mechanical misplays between certain plays. It just felt like Cloud9 had their number and ran them in circles.
I am so concerned for Alliance because they play Shield next, and it's just like Shield plays a very similar style to Cloud9 where they're both very objective focused, right? But Alliance lost to that yesterday, and it just seems like they're going to struggle against really objective focused, less kill-oriented games. It just, they might start the group off 1 and 2, which is really concerning.
I think you're absolutely right to say Cloud9 played a lot like Shield yesterday. Shield is a team about these late game rotations. They've recently kind of mixed in a little more early aggression, but they're about manipulating minion waves, and minions are the joke of Najin Shield. The number of games they've won because super minions are like taking down your Nexus turrets is ridiculous. They're not the same flashy team. They're the team that controls the tempo for the entire game. They always have their hands on the steering wheel, and they just choke you out over time.
I really think Alliance is smart enough to do it, but they just dropped the ball yesterday. A couple of players that stood out was basically Wickd in terms of his split push yesterday. He should have drove that KL all the way down bottom lane or top lane. He should have never grouped with the team, let alone during that Baron play. Yeah, he had teleport up. He was in the bottom lane, but he didn't choose to split push. Whether that's his call or team's call, I'm not even sure. And then at the same time, basically in the middle of the map, Shook was a little over-eager. I feel he really wants to prove the world how good he is and why he's praised so much for his mechanics, but I'm not sure if that's... It wasn't needed. They played a late game composition and it didn't need to be that overeager.
Well, yeah, Alliance might get better today, but really, I mean, yesterday Wickd was playing balls. He was very good. Probably one of the best, if not the best, top lane in North America. But today, they're going to be playing safe. And this guy's like the top lane superstar from Korea. So it's really... Wickd will have to play so much better to keep up.
Well, we're about to get to predictions. Just as a quick aside, it was a very low kill game. Shook dealt 3% of his team's total damage to champions in that game, and Nyph dealt 6%. Again, it was not a kill game, so you know that number is a bit skewed. I heard Jat talking about it. Let's get to the predictions because we do need to roll onto this first game. I want to know who you guys on the analyst desk think will be picking up the win in this matchup. Doublelift, who's got your win and why?
I'm going with Najin Shield for pretty obvious reasons. Alliance lost to Cloud9 yesterday, and I feel like Shield is a slightly better version of Cloud9. Slow, methodical, objective-focused game. It's going to be Alliance.
Crepo?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Doublelift said. I think if... I'm going for Shield, obviously, but I think if Alliance stands a chance, maybe they just need to go for lanes, not lane swap. Don't get Wickd screwed over and try and just somehow come out on top of that top lane with an Irelia pick. But even then, yeah... Hearing the stories of the god that is Save, it would be very hard.
The last of the top lane carries. Prolly, your prediction, please.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Shield here. And I know it's been said by Crepo, but I definitely think that Save's going to make mincemeat out of Wickd. I think Save has really good TPs, and he has a really, really unpredictable champion pool with Cassidy kind of being thrown in there and Kale. So I don't know how he's going to be able to hold up with that.
And Zed as well. I mean, that's the thing is like he plays champions and nobody will play with teleport except for him. And yeah, I got to go with Najin White Shield as well, although I disagree with Double Lift that they're the slightly better version of C9. They are the significantly better version of C9. And that's concerning. I think if Alliance has a chance today, they have to put Froggen on a playmaking champion. No more Xerath, no more passive champions.
Anivia. It's time for Anivia.
It's time for Anivia. Anivia, Aurelia, we're going back.
But I don't know if you can do that against Shield, because we were talking about Ggoong and all the Korean mid laners being safe. And how are you going to be making plays against someone who's so good at playing safe and farming?
Well,
they have good word vision. They're not going to let them roam.
We will find out the answer to that question. Before we do, let's take a look at how you guys at home have voted according to lolesports.com. 52% of you think Alliance are going to take this match. That's actually very even considering the Western fans. So we'll see who will be victorious as we send it to the casters to take us into game number 1 here in Singapore.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot. Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Miller here with me for the first 3 games of Joshua Jack Leisman and Sam Kobe Hartman-Kensler. This first one going to be an absolute beast of a match. Europe against Korea.
Yeah, I think this entire day is going to be beasts of matches, but for sure here we have teams we didn't really get to see much of yesterday. They both only played 1 game, and I just want to see how Alliance bounces back.
Yeah, very excited for today. All these matches on paper look really close, so it should be a very action-packed day.
Well, let's not waste any more time then and get straight into the starting lineups for this first match. On the blue side, representing Korea, is Najin White Shield, with Save in the top lane, Watch in the jungle, Ggoong in mid, Zefa the AD carry, and Gorilla on support.
And on the red side, of course, from the European LCS is Alliance. Wickd in the top lane, Shook, of course, in the jungle, Froggen in mid lane, and that bottom lane of Tabzz and Nyph rounding out the line.
So, as we move towards Champion Select then, I have to talk about Rumble because he's been making waves and no one's banning him out, but he keeps winning. Are we going to see Rumble banned here?
We're trying to research how much Wickd may have been playing Rumble. He's played it 3 times in his competitive career here, but a lot of people have been saying he's been practicing it, and we checked his Korean solo queue. He did have a Rumble win in his last 10 games, so maybe they could block it with a pick, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, plus Save could always play Rumble. Thing about Najin White Shield is he likes to play these carry champions as they were going over. That's one thing, even on blue side, they will ban Maokai because he doesn't feel like wasting time with tanks. He's looking for more damage.
Well, we are going to be getting into Champion Select here in just a couple of moments. Day 2 here in Singapore for Group C and D. Of course, this one a big one. Alliance having a disappointing, almost no-show loss yesterday. They just didn't really turn up to that one. And we see the first ban out of the gates here. Fizz and Maokai for Najin and the Nidalee from Alliance.
Yeah, just like Kobe said, they're going to be banning out the Maokai. Very targeted bans coming from Alliance's side. They have to ban out the Nidalee. Save actually played a lot of AP Nidalee during the Korean regional qualifier that they managed to run the gauntlet on, and Zed because of yesterday.
Yeah, and also this Fizz ban really early on from White Shield, taking a shot at Froggen, taking away one of those champions where he can roam and where he can make plays early on. You know, Alliance losing the way that they did to Cloud9 yesterday, I definitely think they're going to switch up their strategy this time around, pick some more mid-game oriented champions and try to make those plays.
Curious choice as well. Froggen only played 1 game of Fizz over the entire summer split and into playoffs, but if they're going for a certain style here and they don't want Fizz as a counter in that mid lane, that could certainly be the strategy here for Shield.
And it also depends on where White Shield is researching, because if you just check his Korean solo queue account, Fizz is his most played champion as well, so he's definitely been practicing it a lot. I'm not surprised if we see a Lee Sin first pick here, because it is pretty much Shook and Watch's best champion. There are also multiple times in the regional qualifier where they were first picking Lee Sin.
Yeah, Watch, spectacular Lee Sin performance during that gauntlet. Very, very much worthy of a first round pick.
So what will Alliance be going for? A lot of people criticizing some of the picks that came out from him yesterday. Froggen on a more passive mid lane and not the style that I think Alliance need if they're going to win a world championship. And we saw Kale for Wickd. And again, just not exactly, in my eyes, the champion that you'd expect Wickd to come out strong on. So I hope for Alliance's sake that they've had a good talk about this overnight and they come in with a different idea.
Yeah, going over those top lane picks is pretty interesting because also a blue side Ryze ban from Shield, and Save definitely likes to play Ryze and very capable of it. So that is very, very perplexing for the matchup that Shield want to choose into on this Alliance game here.
Yeah, but something we don't see very often
Zilean
is
getting
Zilean
through.
actually getting through, not even being first pick. And I think that's going to be Froggen in the mid lane. Even though Nyph could play it in support, they've had some success with Froggen playing into the mid lane. It'll be a more accelerated pace of the game here for Alliance, which is kind of what they're going to have to do against White Shield to push them off their game a little bit.
Also, everybody is probably glad to see Shook on Kazakhs rather than Elise that he had last time around. Much more early game. He should feel a lot more comfortable in his early game because his jungle champion pool actually has been fairly shallow.
So on the other side, we're going to see Gorilla bring out the Thresh here. Of course, Janna has been a big pick across the board, and Gorilla is a amazing Janna player. Has a perfect record with that over that OGN season plus the NLB playoffs, and it's going to actually be Thresh here coming down, along with a bottom lane pick for Zefa as well, taking Tristana.
The good news is for White Shield is that he's an amazing Thresh as well.
Yeah.
His Thresh yesterday was very impressive, and even though Janna was his pick for the regionals, Thresh has been his pick for much longer.
Yeah, that's definitely his go-to champion, and he performed on it very well yesterday. I want to see about this Alliance team, though, because we've seen so many cool compositions when you have Zilean, freeing up assassins like Kazakhs to play very aggressively. They can combo this with more assassins and the speed up of Zilean, as we've seen teams like EDG do it, that Twitch they were just hovering over. But it looks like he wants more lane pressure here.
Do the Aurelia. It makes so much sense with the Zilean to speed him up. They're also not against a Janna, so the disengage isn't as great for Najin Shield. It makes so much sense if Froggen locks this in here.
And this is what people are looking for. More mid-game focus from Alliance. They're throwing that late game out the window here. Wickd back on his favorite pick, and Tabzz with the AD carry. He feels like he can bully anyone on.
And this is what everyone wanted to see, and almost what everyone was expecting even yesterday when the Rumble was picked against him and ended up going for Kael. He has a magnificent record with Aurelia, if you go back even 2 seasons by now. Ridiculous win ratio with Aurelia. There's a reason why a lot of teams ban out Aurelia against Wickd.
Whoa. Yeah, the Aurelia for Wickd. Oh, but okay, before we move on to the Riven, I just want to put the magnifying glass on this Tabzz Lucian versus Triss, because this has been a topic of debate, even on the analyst desk. Krepo and Double F disagreeing on the matchup between Lucian and Tristana this time around. Tabzz has been very outspoken that he will punish any Trist in lane into the ground with Lucian. Well, now we can switch over to the Riven.
Well, I still want to see Riven's old news. I want to see what happens if we actually see a Zilean in the mid lane and what support Nyph decides to pick, because it looks like we're lining up for a Lulu. See, White Shield actually has a lot of flexibility here. They could do Riven mid lane if they really wanted to, even though I don't expect it. It's probably Lulu in the mid lane, which is a bit of a throwback pick at this point, because we really haven't seen much of Lulu mid since very early on in the summer split.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
choice.
see,
An
they can
Alliance.
just swap the mid lane around now that they've seen a different matchup.
And it looks like we may be seeing Twisted Fate coming out here by Froggen. His second most played champion over the LCS Summer Split and playoffs. Actually has a perfect record and an 8 KDA to go with that Twisted Fate. This is a playmaking champion that we have on Froggen finally, and we'll see if he can make those plays. He has to make those plays.
And there's a few things that I really like about the end of this champion select. Obviously, when Alliance was locking in their first picks, they were going all in for that mid game. And Najin Shield actually answered that fairly aggressively with the last 2 picks, trying to pick Riven and Lulu to at least have some type of pacing, since they've already locked in that Trist, which is going to be more punishable late game. They're kind of trying to shield against Alliance's mid game in that sense. And I can't wait to see that Riven pick.
I love the actual combo. Not only did they pick up Riven late, but they also comboed it with the Lulu, because Riven, you're going to build full offensive. It's going to be all that damage. If you have a Lulu ultimate knockup to combo with a Riven stun in the mid game, that can be devastating. Plus, very good matchup versus Aurelia. He can punish him early. I expect there to be jungle influence in that lane if they actually meet up 1 versus 1.
The question is, how is that all going to go? Is Shook going to have more of an impact than yesterday and help Wickd get through that lane? We heard the last of the top lane carries a label floating around for save, and a champion like Riven is a champion that you can definitely carry games on.
Well, he lives up to the hype, at least in champion select. He's willing to pick the Riven into an Aurelia like this.
It's a snowball champion, so that you know this is going to be a really exciting game.
Yeah.
Well, as we get into it then, and the champions have been locked in, who do you guys think are going to come out on top? Tweet hashtag NWS win or ALL win to @LOL Esports, and of course we'll be checking those votes as we get on into the game. But this one, gonna be a thrilling match to watch. Najin White Shield taking on Alliance. Of course, both in different positions after Najin White Shield won their first game. It was against Kaboom, who are the big underdogs in this group, so this will be their first real big test.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
So, early wards then going down. Surely a 10 start to come in this one. Gorilla going to spot the vision being put down by Tabzz on the bottom side of that river. For now, Ggoong just waiting and making sure that no one crosses over in towards that red area. For now, just set up in a simple line across the map.
Right, so let's wait and see if they drop one of these trinket wards deep in one of the lane bushes to try and find the matchup. There it is, the lane ward deep in this bush. So Najin Shield trying to see which lanes Alliance are going to go with so they can actually find that favorable swap.
Highly swappable lanes here. Zefa doesn't necessarily want to be punished by Tabzz. I wonder how Save would be able to do in a 1v2 against the harassment of a Zillion and a Lucian.
So Riven's actually fairly decent in clear speed in the jungle if they actually start off with the double jungle here, because they are going for the lane swap up top.
Alliance would know more than anything about that too. Shook played multiple jungle Riven games. Obviously no smite, no jungle runes, but definitely that exceeded clear potential. And that's probably what they're going to do. I'd expect 2v0 freeze attempt in the top lane with some double jungling from Watch and Save.
We can see that Wickd starting out with that Doran shield, Doran's blade for save. That will set them up for these 2 versus 1s. Of course, this mid lane is a big one as well. A lot of eyes on Froggen. See what he can pull off here in another World Championship appearance.
So Wickd actually, Alliance did not expect this lane swap. He goes up to the lane. Let's see how much experience he can actually soak up there, because if he can't and he gets bullied out here, then they will fall behind. Looks like he is going to be able to soak experience at least.
He's soaked half a level so far, but it all depends on how well White Shield can maintain this freeze, and it actually doesn't look like they have froze all that well.
They didn't group those minions because they were hiding in the bush to see what lane was going to turn out up here. So they didn't group the minions to get them to focus fire on the blue side.
Yeah, at this point actually, since the wave is going to slow push into the turret, Wickd would actually have to be concerned about a potential later tower dive. It really depends on if they want to try a 3v1 or if they just want to swap this off and turn it into a 1v1 lane, because the full experience denial isn't really possible right now. Not a freeze on the other side either.
Yeah, this makes me want to watch where Gorilla's going to go, because Alliance would potentially have the duo down bottom advantage. So, they swap everybody down there. They want to deal with this push from Alliance. Let's see if Alliance can actually shove it into turret before they get there. It looks like the push will be too slow, though.
It's going to work out just right for White Shield here. They're going to be able to get a whole bunch of experience on a save.
There's that wave going through. Save already getting into position. Gorilla will be just behind him here, but needs to wait until Gorilla gets there before he can just edge out from that tower. And there it is. Takes the instant bomb and a blast from Tabzz as he goes through. Those bombs, of course, not going to be doing all too much to pain him. And actually, Gorilla's completely backed away now on this bottom side. And look at Shook moving into that bottom brush.
I mean, this is what I was scared of for Alliance with Wickd getting dove, but this is a real potential dive onto Save if they can get the right minion line. But it's going to be a really long time until they could try that dive. I feel like Shook was a little early to the party down in bot lane there.
And because they're camping so many people down bottom.
Oh, face check straight into it. Actually will be forced to use the flash away, and just when it looked like Alliance's luck was running out there, Save decides he was just going to have a bit of a peek. The beauty of Riven, of course, you still have that bit of mobility to get you out of those tricky scenarios. Shook is now recalled.
Because Alliance spent so many people down bottom, though, waiting in this bush, there was a double roam that White Shield got off mid. They forced Froggen back. Froggen's already down 10 CS on this Twisted Fate. Going to get pushed in by Ggoong.
Bottom side has now seen Gorilla actually join in with Save, just to give him the extra backup on that front. Shook is actually coming down the mid lane. Seems like he's just going to go back into a farming pattern. Save and Gorilla do in fact push that lane completely out. There's a hook coming in and actually will land onto Nyph, but Save had already backed away there to put a ward down.
The minions did so much damage when Gorilla hooked Nyph into that, and that actually kind of tapers the aggression that they'd be able to put in that bottom lane completely.
And Nyph did have a ward in that side bush in the river, so the reason he was going up there to group those minions and try and freeze is because he saw Save walking away. The only thing he didn't see was Gorilla inside that bush, but he knew Save wouldn't be in a position to capitalize on that hook.
Is it going to get scary here for Wickd? Watch is just waiting on the side brush. Wickd had already used his stun there, but got rid of that minion wave fairly quickly. Watch will, in fact, be recalling out completely. A lot of pings actually towards that top lane as well.
The good thing for Wickd is that Aurelia's kit is basically built to deal with being dove at a tower. She gets so many advantages. Low health, you get the stun, so her passive gives you extra tenacity, so that's the champion that you want to be on if you're going to get tower dove. Plus, he can jump around to these minions that are going to get shot low by the turret if he is under pressure up there. That being said, though, they don't want to risk it. Good ward, and Shook also goes up top.
Yeah, I feel like Wickd will be alright. The rest of Alliance is actually doing quite well, just holding off in the early game here. Soon they will hit level 6 before White Shield because of the experience from Zilean. And I think the champ select plan that Alliance had formulated is working out pretty well. Wickd is out farming Save. The only downside is they haven't really been able to deny Zefa.
There's once again Froggen landing the stun card onto Ggoong. Trying to be a little more aggressive now in this mid lane. Went for the 2 Doran's rings and the boots as well, which since he's now level 6 may just help him get involved in any of these other lanes. If you look down CS, Wickd actually 10 CS above Save right now and not having too many problems, although White Shield are basically just focusing on that tower.
And Alliance have also done a very good job prepping this bottom side with pink wards. After that roam up top initially from Najin White Shield, they dropped 2 pink wards on this bottom side to protect Froggen. So they know that he has at least one side he can sort of cheat to. Some good vision inside that river. Plus now he's level 6. If they want to try and take advantage of Save and teleport with that Twisted Fate, coordinate that gank with Shook, it could be explosive.
And I think this is also a decent time to talk about just Najin White Shield as a team. They weren't the most spectacular team in Korea. They were fairly low in circuit points. The main reason they were here is because they ran that huge gauntlet in the regional qualifier tournament. They beat KT Bullets, then the KT Arrows, and then they were able to destroy the Season 3 World Championships champions in SK Telecom. And because of those 10 games over 3 days, everyone's seeing them as this powerhouse. But honestly, I think they have to really come out strong against Alliance and Cloud9, and we shouldn't just be accepting them as this first-place team in the group.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one. I mean, it depends how much work they've done for that one, how much of that, of course, carries through now into the World Championships, and definitely playing a different, I don't want to say caliber of team, but definitely a different style of team coming into this World Championship. So far, so good for them, of course, with 1 win on the board against the group underdogs Kaboom. Alliance, you know, they lost out yesterday, but they are far from done in this World Championship. Have to play everyone twice, of course, if you didn't already realize that.
And look at Wickd. Wickd just bought his Sheen, heads immediately down towards Dragon. Alliance with a lot of focus on this side of the map. We already mentioned they spent a lot of their ward coverage down here, and now they're bringing all the champions, allocating pretty much every resource down to the early Dragon and defending this blue.
And Wickd has actually maxed his E on Aurelia, which will be higher in the burst damage category with the Sheen, but he's kind of in, get the Sheen off, stun them, hit them once, and then back away before damage can be traded, which will give him lower sustained damage in a potential team fight, but more upfront burst.
I'm not a person to want to question Wicked's builds on Irelia. Although
built him every way.
Yeah,
He's
there
done
have
so
been
many
some different ones. Yeah, he's not scared of experimenting on that one. We'll see now as he goes into that 1 versus 1 with save. Actually, good 15 CS up. There's a hook onto Tabzz. It's going to be a quick blast back from Zefa. And these hooks so far from Gorilla caused or had the possibility, let's say, to cause a few problems for Alliance, not being able to turn them into a kill. But both Watch and Ggoong here having to go on this middle turret. Froggen coming in. They've got Shook over to the side who can leap in. Meanwhile, Wickd actually going to go aggressive onto saving this top lane. That's a lot of damage done.
And he's backed off. He's waiting for the ult activation. There it is. He didn't want to get too low for more execution. Good trade there from Wickd. Being able to meet back up with Riven after he's already got his Sheen. Very big bonus for Alliance. Good time to swap back.
Gorilla not quite in the brush there as he wakes off on the side. That's Froggen pulling out that stun card. They just cleared out that pink there, so Shook is actually going to revisit this middle lane. There is Watch coming around, actually misses the kill. Shook going to go over the top. We do see Destiny popped here. Stun card goes on to Watch, but he preemptively flashes that one. Wild growth as well for Ggoong, and they basically trade a few summoners left and right and the ultimates.
It seemed a little bit early on the ultimate there from Froggen, but he wanted to see if there was any support help coming up, and there actually was, which is why they didn't commit farther onto that kill.
Speaking of support, here comes Nyph.
Nyph coming in from the side. They slowed down Watch, and there is Froggen able to pick up first blood. Shook gonna dive in. Where's the ultimate going? So goes to Gorilla. It's a double kill for Froggen. The ulti was on Chunk just in case. And Alliance moving the support to mid, really working out big for them.
And the support's hitting level 6 before the support of Najin White Shield was huge there. Gorilla could not deal with the box, and Shook could get extra aggressive because they knew they had that resurrect from Zilean.
See what Ggoong can do with that mid lane, though. He's going to be able to shove 1 extra wave. Pretty much, Alliance come away with a clean 2 kills, first blood down. What a roam up there from Nyph. Very timely.
Oh, Alliance sitting pretty for now at least. 1600 gold lead that they have. If you look down the CS as well, it's Wickd that's going massive in that top lane, and that is a big vote of confidence from you guys at home. 72% of you voting for Alliance to pick up this win. And I feel it's not who you think's going to win, more of who you want to win at this stage. Of course, Alliance coming out of Europe as the #1 seed, the only team to ever win an LCS apart from Fnatic, as we are going to see them now going towards Zefa. There are 3 men there. Bomb is down, a nice lantern will take Zefa away.
Whoa.
Oh, the void spikes landed, but the damage not quite enough.
That might be enough to turn to Dragon here. That's a huge chunk out of the AD carry. They definitely have the numbers, Alliance. Plus, they've got their teleport ready from Wickd. Save just went back to base. He would be able to answer teleports, though.
At this point, it would all be about a steal from Watch. He has his flash down, though, so it would have to be remarkably crisp
It would
with
be a
his
lantern
entrance and
back
exit.
out.
Gorilla is going to come up to that. Still have Zefa
Gotta be
low.
careful
There's the
about the
hook coming
damage.
on to Shook. He will actually jump away, and I think Wise here from Alliance. They spot Ggoong coming in from that middle lane as well. They back away from Dragon. What? Shield not quite healthy enough at this point to say, okay, we forced them away, get in the jungle, though we can do it ourselves.
Gorilla comes over with a timely hook. Kasek's very squishy jungler. Yes, he does have good damage for controlling the early dragons, but they didn't have anyone who could actually take that damage. Needed to juggle aggro if they wanted to do it.
Yeah, and even though Froggen was able to pick up that double kill in the mid lane, the turret damage has already been dealt. White Shield put so much attention onto Froggen very early on in the game. The double roam to initially give Ggoong that CS advantage, and he has been unrelenting since. Yes, they got the double kill to return, but if they can fall that mid lane turret, Najin White Shield would be able to catch up in this game very quickly.
Where do those plays come from? It looks like Blue Buff will be giving over to Ggoong here. Both him and Froggen picking up that Athene's Unholy Grail. The top laners, despite that big lead that Wickd has, there is the Brutalizer there for save now. Against that Sheen that Wickd went aggressive with earlier on. And did a good chunk of damage to save as well. And we'll see how Wickd decides to play now as they both are around that level 10 point.
Yeah, skipping that early part of this matchup was huge for Wickd, and now it just gets better and better for him. As you can see, he's stacked some armor after the Sheen rush. Now his tab already completed, plus the shield, so he has a lot of attack damage reduction, which is exactly what you want against Riven. Pretty much all for damage coming from there. He feels much more confident in this matchup. You can see freezing it close to his turret. This is ideal for Wickd.
So a lot of vision on the bottom side of River. Still in favor of Alliance. There's the ultimate used by Wickd, and actually gonna push save right on back there. And Wickd, honestly, having a completely black and white difference game to that one yesterday.
It's one thing when you played hundreds of games on the champion. He knows the matchups, and maxing E is so good against Riven. It's allowing him to win all of these trades, but it's not helping him win the mid lane here where the pressure is unrelenting.
Look at this immediate roam down bottom.
This could be enough, actually. There is the Ggoong coming out. Gorilla is going to fall down. Where is Froggen?
He went top for kill.
Went top lane. He went top lane. I thought he was coming down bottom. He went to the top, and just like that, Alliance pick up 2 kills.
That means there's going to be no answer here from Najin White Shield. They can't try and get any more objectives. They can't go for this dragon. They just lost kill down there. It's going to be a free top turret for Alliance.
And they'd already killed the mid lane. That was the answer if you were going to try and respond to the kill down bottom and the gank up top. That's a little bit aggressive right here.
3 versus 3 bold move.
Bad idea.
Well, there are only 2 men there. And Alliance, I think, again, wisely say, yeah, let's not mess around. We've got a lead here. Let's only take the safe options. We'll stick around here to at least defend Dragon. But let's have a look at that one again with Froggen coming up top.
So Safe goes for the all-in, but as we said, if there's going to be a fight like here, Froggen can easily roam up top, and everything is already used here from Safe. So they re-engage when he has no cooldowns, stun-locked, no chance for him, any rebuttal.
I mean, surely Save might have to build Mercury Treads, which isn't an ideal item on Riven here. It's a 2-second stun from Rally and more from TF. He won't be able to do much on Riven.
It's also a snowball champion. If you shut down Riven here early, it's going to be hard for him to become relevant in this game, especially with a zillion on the other team.
This is big, though.
Oh, they're going to go for Ggoong. He will pop the wild growth on himself, but he's gone. They've taken him already. Watch will get a good kick off. Nyph, in the meantime, was focused there, but he had already got his ultimate running on himself. Watch is going to have to try and dodge away, but he's underneath the tower. Froggen picks up another to go on the rampage. That 2 kills, and Alliance going to go into Dragon.
The stun locking from Alliance right now is really catching White Shield off guard. Ggoong, while he could ult himself, did nothing else. He was just stunned the whole time.
Najin White Shield are just falling apart right now. Alliance, precision, objective control. Now they clean up the dragon, got everything on the map that they wanted.
Well, he said that Froggen has to play something that he's comfortable with, something that he can make plays on. So far, he is certainly delivering. The same was said of Wickd. Let's see that fight again.
All right, so this will be a very late teleport in. You can see he's already dead before Save even arrives to the fight. And then, even when he arrives to the fight, he's on the backside. So Alliance easy chase down for the 2nd kill. That stun lock catching them off guard. Ggoong was just, there was nothing he could do.
I just got to say, what a turnaround from Alliance between yesterday against Cloud9 to now against Najin White Shield. They picked such a different team composition, and their mindset coming into the game is just night and day. They're looking to make plays. They picked mid-game centric champions. They are executing and taking risks. None of the things they did against Cloud9 yesterday.
And all of the things we are looking for them to improve on today. So they've definitely kept their heads about them. This was just 1 game yesterday in the group stages. This is the very beginning for them.
And that's what we have to keep talking about. These are groups where everyone plays each other twice, and these are very close groups across the board. There will be so many matchups that get traded 1 games to 1, and every day I feel like will change the story vastly.
Oh, they're going to go for Froggen. There's a Q from Watch landing, but the Wickd teleport is coming down. Stun card onto Watch. There is Shook coming around the side as well. Wickd dives in, and Alliance turn around the gang brilliantly. However, Wickd might still be in trouble. Nyph will come in though, which means the chance of anyone actually dying is 0, and Alliance pick up their 7th kill.
And once again, this play from Froggen, as soon as he comes under fire, they get pressure on him. He pops his ultimate to judge exactly how many members of Najin White Shield are coming. Then they can judge this fight, call in the reinforcements, and turn it around. Very, very early TF ultimates just for vision of all the enemy champions. He's not been using it to teleport.
So far, so good for the European #1s. They're currently 5,000 gold ahead at 18 minutes and 50 into this game. See how they start to move and turn this lead towards victory. If you look down some of the other items, for Tabzz. He's got himself Bloodthirster, the Sheen, and a pickaxe. Bit of a mixed bag there after the Bloodthirster. Definitely a different Lucian build to what we're used to.
I think the big thing Tabzz is worried about is getting bursted down in the duration of a Riven stun, and if he can stack up his own Bloodthirster shield, that's going to be much less likely. I personally am a big fan of Bloodthirster on Lucian. We just don't see it that often.
It also could definitely aid them in some early tower taking. Bloodthirster and Sheen are the items for taking early towers, especially with Lucian. So this Alliance team, they're looking to snowball this lead, which is exactly what they should be doing. They don't want to rest on their laurels and just wait like they did against Cloud9. They have this early lead. They want to push down turrets.
Hit the point as well where Wickd has a Trinity Force. And you see, pushing in towards this bottom turret. There's not much help left on it. They need to be careful of being closed upon, though. You see, Zefa there. There is a hook, and he's going to land on towards Nyph. He should pop an early ultimate here. Watch will come around the side. Tries to kick Tabzz, but it already got away. Shook is there. Froggen's going to join in. Nyph will flash. They Froggen. Nyph managed to escape that one. The disengage and slow across the group from Shook. And just like that, they walk off.
What a hero teleport from Froggen! He teleports in and takes the hook for Nyph.
He took a bullet for him, but luckily Froggen had the vest on, so everyone gets away alive.
Insane stuff. Where was this Alliance yesterday? Certainly looking like a completely
They were
different
farming
team.
in lane yesterday.
Yeah. That didn't obviously work out all too well for them. You just saw Save and Wickd basically crossing paths, spotting each other, clearing out those wards. So how Najin White Shield gonna deal with this now? Behind by a fair distance here against Alliance.
And that's what we need to talk about now is Najin Shield's plan to try and get back in this one. Zefa is mostly going to be the person it revolves around. With the mid lane Lulu, they would be able to get a pretty nice Protect the Trist going in the late game. But because Save was pushed so far behind, they don't have that much overall damage. Tabzz needs a friend, though.
Well, he's having a go at Zefa here. He's actually going to flash the hook. Actually makes it. He turns around towards Zefa. Well, they've got the damage to get through it. Nyph was trying to get in range, but his ultimate wasn't up yet.
Yeah, no reinforcements this time around. Froggen doesn't have his teleport either, so they don't want to call for that collapse. Wickd as well, his summoner teleport down, so they have to work around this discrepancy now that Save actually has his teleport, so they've got much more ability to turn these small skirmishes. Even though Riven is behind, he now at least picked up the Tiamat, which opens up so many more combos for Riven, and being able to combo with Tiamat animation cancels for Riven greatly increases her damage output.
And I have to say as well, Zefa getting that kill is about the worst thing that could have happened to Alliance. That's the one person they need to be able to keep down more than anyone. They've already done their job to keep Save down, and now with the death cap on Ggoong to provide larger shields to Zefa, it's going to be an even heavier focus on trying to keep Tristana down.
Oh, there's the hook, and Nyph just going to be blown to pieces. Yes, he's got his ultimate. Will he be able to escape? Let's have a look at this one. He gets the slow in there, but Zefa able to finish off that kill there with the Buster Shot. And that will be his second. And you were just talking about the last person that needs to get the kills now on Najin's side is Zefa with that Tristana, who's going to be getting stronger and stronger, and that's just in time for Dragon as well.
Plus the Dragon setting up, they have perfect vision coverage over it. They sweep out everything. They already have pink wards in place. Najin Shield taking back
so many hooks.
Yeah, not a lot to say about that one, I'm afraid. Shook just getting too close with no vision of where Najin White Shield were. That is the jungler down. Froggen has actually just watered up top with his Destiny that he used just to check the area. Will clear out the waves, but they lose the Dragon.
There was no point in Alliance contesting that after two people had been picked out by hooks, but those hooks are, while nice shots by Gorilla, the products of vision control, and something that Alliance struggled with yesterday against Cloud9 was actually clearing vision. Per minute, actually, in wards killed in these group stages. Obviously, it's a small sample size. Alliance had the fewest wards killed. They killed 20 wards in a 37-minute game, and that's something they've struggled with this game as well. All of Nyph's deaths have been, or even his catches, have been when he's trying to clear vision and gets cut out because there's just too much wards on the map by Shield right now.
Yeah, that number for Alliance is the smallest of every single team here at groups, at Worlds. However, as you said, it's an extremely small sample size. That was only one game, and it was a game where they were getting pushed in. So take that with a grain of salt.
Well, we'll see about that, because if you look at the map now, it's basically all blue wards, and we'll see what Alliance actually do. They've got Nyph outside of the Dragon Pit saying, okay, I'm going to try and get some control of this map back for us. However, there are still a good few wards in there that he is giving complete vision of himself on. I don't think there's any chase onto him for now. Meanwhile, Wickd has come down to this mid lane since Froggen did use that Destiny teleport to go onto the top side of the map. Alliance is still on top of wards.
The thing is, though, this is the mid-game where Alliance needs to shine. They honestly did well in what is the early mid-game, and this is kind of the late mid-game. But because they're walking on top of wards all the time, and it's Gorilla who's finding all the fights, they're just losing their advantage.
So, yeah, I'm not really sure how come they did spread out. As soon as they got that Bloodthirster Sheen, thought they were going to start grouping to take down these extra turrets, but look at them. They still are sitting on only that one turret taken. Now, they're finally getting that TF split push, going with the 4-man squad, trying to get down to the bottom. The only thing is, with those extra kills for Zefa, he has his Infinity Edge plus Static Shiv combo already. That's clear right there. He's got plenty of wave clear with Lulu added on.
Froggen, you know, there were just 4 men down in this bottom lane. Alliance didn't actually see most of those 4 men in there, as Zefa actually going to take some damage. Froggen has pulled off the Destiny and said, oh, okay, so that's where all those guys were. They managed to take that turret. They're going to lose the top turret, but are they going to go for this one? Every Alliance player is down on the bottom side.
They're committing so hard to shoving this. They do not want to stop. They're going to call his bluff.
Oh, onto Froggen. He will actually get kicked to safety there by Watch. The teleport from Save is going to come in. Ggoong coming around the side as well. Tabzz is actually fairly low. Flashing from Save. Gets the double stun off. There's the hook that doesn't quite land. But Wickd is now running as well. Wild card will go through. Wickd has the ultimate on him and will be dropped. They're going to try and turn this one around. There is Shook diving to the front. Good group slow, but Alliance themselves are just too low here. They're now going to turn around and run.
What a high-level fight we just saw there. Everyone getting away with a sliver of health. Stuns, flashes, all used right before someone is going to die. And it just goes to show how much Najin White Shield has come back in this game because they're competing toe-to-toe.
Froggen just getting that gold in there. He's going to be going home to shop up decently as well the next time that he decides to go. Let's have another look at that one though. He started off again with a great Gorilla Hook.
All right, so the good kick as well to Froggen, that delayed his whole gold card. Froggen never got to throw that gold card, so it bought time for Save to join the fight with his teleport. The flash stun comes in, but they didn't have it backed up with the Lulu ultimate, so there wasn't the extra chain and crowd control needed to take him all the way down. Wickd gets time enough for the Zillion ultimate to go down.
They're just so scared after Shook jumped in there. The amount of burst damage that both teams can throw down on the right targets makes these fights really difficult to jump in on now. Wickd is becoming a little bit more tanky, but outside of that, it's a bunch of squishy targets that have to be very careful about where they go.
Also, that flash blown by Save in the last fight is going to be crucial for them. That's a very big tool for their actual initiation. Other than that, they really need to rely on either Watch or Gorilla landing some skill shots.
Definitely have Shook doing more than 3% of his team's damage this game, that's for sure. Got himself that last Whisper now into his build. Froggen still to die at 4-0-2. Zonya's Hourglass with the Athenes, and looking like the Death Cap will be next on the cards for him. This gold has crept back slightly in favor of Najin White Shield. 2,500 is the difference between them. Blue will be given back over to Froggen. And I think now Alliance, somewhat nerve-wracking moments for them coming up in this one. We've seen that they have been a little less decisive in the plays that they've made.
Yeah, they're definitely kicking themselves for those mid-game picks that they gave up. Farming in the side lanes and then trying to gain ward coverage in a very dangerous area. That's really come back to bite them here.
Especially considering the fact that Alliance is already 0-1 in groups, losing to Cloud9. They lose this one, and then they've lost to their 2 main competitors in their group. It's only top 2 that make it into the quarterfinals here. And Alliance built this team to succeed at Worlds. Losing their first 2 games could be devastating. That has to be on their minds right now.
Yeah, and they definitely need to use these breakpoints they've just hit. They have not only the Trinity Force, but Frozen Heart on Wickd. It's a great item, especially against a team that has Riven on it. Does mess up your combos a little bit when your attack speed gets thrown off like that if you're not adjusting for it. Plus, they also have Froggen with the ability to initiate now. He has Zonya, so people who are looking for those plays from Froggen, the big carry TF plays, Now he's got the potential to pull those off. Almost completed death cap as well, so when he goes in, his combo is going to be devastating. If he can get in on the right target and combo before having his lasagnas.
This Dragon, though, is just trying
to take the turret in exchange here. They're trying to take top from Froggen.
And looks like he actually will get this one. He will, in fact. The Dragon does go down, but Alliance going to push that one through. So trading in a turret for a Dragon, and they're going to get Baron vision control.
Yeah, they trade vision control of the bottom side of the map for the top side of the map here. So Alliance making the gold trade as well as the vision trade here for the higher priority side of the map.
We'll have to see if it works out there. There's a lot of golden experience in this part of the game for giving away that Dragon, and Alliance didn't want to walk into that area anymore because they knew they'd had tried to get vision around the Dragon and they'd already failed a few times. So it is smart. They trade the gold pretty generally with the turret there, and the Baron control, at least for the next 6 minutes, will be more valuable.
Alliance do have to commit their champions there, though. You can't just lay down vision and leave the area. You have to defend your vision. That's a huge part in the vision wars, actually using all the champions to defend those wards. Not letting Watch do exactly what he's doing right now, sweeping out the wards, bringing in pink wards. Najin White Shield slowly eroding all of this work that Alliance just traded the Dragon for.
I feel like that's a very European trait as well, to come and get your wards down and then say, okay, peace, we're just gonna leave now, and then they come in and clear one out. And, you know, when you get two teams doing that, that's when these Baron dances, you know, last the 10, 15, 20 minutes, when they're just trading wards left and right. I don't think that White Shield are a team that are going to let you just walk in there and clear out that effort they've put in.
It's a very, very important part of this game, too, because both teams have the potential to turn the game on a pick. They both have the ability to pick off champions. Froggen here is waiting around bottom by Wickd, by this pink ward. So they're using some bait here. Froggen slowly sweeping in with this line of vision that they have. They're hoping Say will go aggressive, but he's down a level, and Wicked's got the 2 items.
I do have to commend the item builds here. Mercury Treads can very well save multiple lives here. They have 3 pairs of Mercury Treads already on their team because they know the main way Alliance wins these fights is through stun locking. There we go. Baron vision control vanished.
They're trading top side for bottom side here, though. They're daring Najin White Shield to go with this shove. They're actually going to take it. It's going to be a game of chicken.
Oh, there is the damage coming out towards Save. Wickd is absolutely ripping through Gold card. Oh no! Last second wild growth from Ggoong. He actually comes back to the base. Ignite goes down. Meanwhile, Tabzz taking all the damage. Will be brought back to life thanks to his support. Zefa jumps on. There is the hunt coming in. They kill Shunk. Can they kill Tabzz? He's still going. He's getting the kill back. And Watch has to turn and run from this one. I think he's safe. Meanwhile, down on the bottom, they did get the kill on the save as they come around. There's the bomb. Has he got enough damage?
Watch for the shield.
No,
one more.
Not quite. One bomb will do it though.
Oh no, there's no mana.
The bombs. He's got no mana. Those bombs so tasty to him as well. And Watch thanking his lucky stars there that he got away.
Even so, that fight was so close across both sides. Tabzz will use that goal for good use. Last whisper completed now, and it just goes to show how close these teams are. Fights on both sides. Either one could have swung the game.
So let's take a look at this fight, because remember the itemization of the AD carries. Tabzz is a much more brawly AD carry here. Lucian, close quarters with the BT and Trinity Force. Whereas Zefa, very squishy. In goes Shook, takes out the full damage AD carry. And look at this lifesteal here and burst from Tabzz. Lucian working in those close quarters. As we know, Watch eventually gets away here. Even though Nyph does his darkness to chase him down.
Could have been so swingy. The fact that Froggen actually used his destiny right there is a little bit preemptive, but the turret's down, so it has to be respected.
Remember, that was 2 turrets bottom for Alliance in exchange for 1 from White Shield. So the calls from Alliance here, very good calls. They were able to get the inhibitor turret down, and as you said, you always have to respect that TF backdoor.
Trist with a Lulu picks does an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage. Nyph is taken out of the fight by a few auto attacks.
And to be careful here. Very careful. There's a 4-man team waiting inside of the brush. There's no vision there for Alliance. There's a speed up. It's going to be Zefa that steps forward, gets a big crit onto Tabzz. There's another one. Oh, basically 3 shots. Tabzz goes down before Nyph could even get the ulti in.
Level 16 Tristana. Definitely something to be wary of. Froggen also has to worry about this hook. Gorilla doesn't pursue though, even though he's got mobility boots. There's no vision in that side of the jungle.
Destiny down, 80 carry down, Flash down on Froggen with vision control. It will be very hard for Alliance to stop this Baron without suffering major casualties.
And
they just have to give it up.
They can't even answer down bottom for the inhibitor because there's no way for Froggen to get there, so they just have to settle for an outer turret. One outer turret in exchange for Baron. Najin White Shield looking to catch Froggen.
Oh, that turret is not going to go down either. They managed to keep that one alive. Froggen does head towards the bottom side of the map, but he's got to decide now.
He's their wave
push
clear.
bottom. He has to come back because this inner turret already down to half HP. That should be taken without any problems. They've got shields galore here to make sure that Zefa can just get in there, hit the turret without any minions, and that one is going down. Froggen finally rejoins the team.
It's all about withstanding the mid game for Alliance, and that's what Shield has been able to do. They've been able to get Triss to a big point, and now they've just got the Baron buff, so Alliance has fallen behind in this one.
Now they have to do their best to wave clear here. Once again, very, very important for Froggen not to get caught while they try and get this wave clear down. Gorilla has been on point with his Thresh hooks. That would be devastating for Alliance. Culling not available for this wave either.
Wildcards will come through though, and you can see that they are successful in taking all but one minion out of that one, so they do have wave clear to hold on to it, but will Najin White Shield decide to really dare it? I mean, if you look down their lineup, they've not got anyone that's massively tanky, although you could also say the same about Alliance. Wickd, of course, though, with that Frozen Heart, will also be getting a bit of extra protection going forward. Dragon is available, but for White Shield, they've got that Baron buff on, and they're going to look to make it count and leave Alliance with only their bases. Wickd gets hooked, but no follow-through. That turret survives.
We've seen it so many times. The late game Lulu plus Tristana is so difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
Sped up and shielded up. Gets to take down those turrets very easily. Retreat back to Dragon, and look at that global gold. Getting right back to even. Only 1,000 separating these teams now.
Yep, plus it's over 700 range to go with all that damage and shielding. Plus you can see, I actually like the Alacrity boots on Zefa there just to make sure he's got that extra little bit of mobility to chase down near the end of fights. It was the one thing that Alliance needed to ward off, and it's the one thing that Najin Shield knew they had in their back pocket. If Zefa could get a few kills, if Ggoong could get enough ability power to provide proper shields as well, when Lulu gets AP, it also amps the damage that Zefa is going to be doing from picks. It's all starting to come together here for Shield.
Plus they have that all-important Mikhails to break the stun lock that has been Alliance's go-to mechanism.
And a QSS now for Zefa as well, as he comes back out of the base. So, yeah, not going to be easy to lock them up, that's for sure. Well, we see Ggoong picking up the Lich Bane, so basically your towers are dead if they ever get anywhere near them.
Alliance focused more on that mid-game this time around, but after they had the good mid-game, gave up a couple crucial picks. And Najin White Shield going to punish them for it. That late-game Trist coming for your inhibitor turrets.
Wickd got his Guardian Angel on though now.
Oh,
gonna do it. There's a couple of hits onto Froggen. Half HP just disappears like that. And we'll see if he decides, I gotta go back to base. You'd imagine so. This turret seems to be going down either way. As Zefa just steps up, 4 or 5 auto attacks will bring it down to just over half health, and the shield blocking out all the damage that the turrets do to him.
You can see how threatening it is right now. Zefa is playing with so much confidence, and unless Alliance is willing to commit, they can't deal with them. The more shots they take here, the lower their chances of defending this turret become. They may give it up because they don't want to fight Shield with Baron buff.
Look at Zefa just walking up the steps there, not even scared of what Alliance can throw at him.
If they're going to commit, it has to be the next wave here. That thing's going down in 2 more hits.
The Baron buff is still on them, though, for another little while. I almost feel like it's smarter for Alliance to give up the inhibitor, but the culling does get burned out, gets a good amount of harass down.
On to the priority target.
Great.
They're going for this one. Shook stepping forward there. Baron does time out Froggen, and also step forward with the gold card, but decided not to go aggressive. But there's Wickd diving in. Tabzz on the backside. He's going to duel with Zefa. Nyph, though, is all on his own in the middle. They've gone for Froggen, who uses that Gonyas. He gets shut down. Kills coming back here for Alliance, though. Look at Tabzz. He's almost untouched and stealing that life back. Wickd going to come up. Gorilla mistimes the hook, but they managed to lock him up, and that a 1 for 2. That might be enough here for Najin White Shield.
Tristana is still full HP. This is going to be the base for Shield.
It's so hard to use Chrono Shift on the right targets in these team fights, and Froggen is the one who needed it at that point. He was the first to die. The one on Wickd was worthless because by the time he revived, the rest of the team had to back up, and this could actually be game.
Zefa once again stepping up, gets knocked back though by the culling of Tabzz, who was left relatively untouched during that last fight. Seemed to be the hope almost of Alliance as that fight was going on. They've managed somehow to hold Najin White Shield away from it for now.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that fight again because Froggen and all of Alliance went all in on Zefa and they were unsuccessful in taking him down. The Mikhails was burned, the QSS was burned, pretty much everything was expended, yet at the end of the fight, Zefa ran out of there with full health.
And Save did a really good job flanking around to get in the middle of the Alliance squad, so he was able to zone off the rest of Alliance and break them up so they weren't able to capitalize on Froggen after his Zanyas.
Yeah, at the start of this fight, you can see Zefa's off around the side. Wickd jumps in very quickly. Zefa's trying to lifesteal up off those rates, so the start of this fight is very critical. You can see the priority already put onto Zefa.
Save wraps all the way around, comes from their own inhibitor to chase off Shook and Tabzz.
And that is what ended up isolating Froggen away from the rest of the team. The Chrono Shift was actually on Tabzz. It was completely worthless. It's the Guardian Angel that revived Wickd. So, an even worse Chrono Shift than I ended up thinking it was. It just needs to be used better for Alliance if they want to come out in these team fights, because late game scaling wise, it's the Triss Lulu ruling the day.
Kind of explains why we thought that Lucian was untouched in that last game, because they were like, well, what's the point of killing him now? Let's take out Wickd at the front, see how it goes. And well, maybe that's Nyph getting a little bit nervous in these scenarios, thinking if I hit it earlier, at least he's got it on him if that happens, but choosing to ignore it means that Chrono Shift does absolutely nothing for them in the fight. It means now if we look at the gold, still in favor of Alliance, but the tiniest of margins, only 200-300 gold the difference. Froggen has now gone back to a bot lane push, and honestly, Save at this point could kill him.
Froggen only has Ghost to try and deal with this Ribbon, so it's going to take some fancy footwork. Smelled something, and he does catch him out. Let's see if they can actually get an engage here. Save, again, has his teleport.
Yeah, they have to respect the teleport flank from Save.
Oh, there goes Nyph.
And they have to respect Zefa, but that's pretty hard. There they go.
Wickd actually getting in. That's a good kickback from Watch. The hook will land as well onto Shook. He's going to drop one. Does have the Chrono Shift available. Wickd trying to draw them away. That means that Shook is able to get out, but Wickd won't be as lucky here. He's still trying the hop to the ward from Watch. We'll get that one. And Najin White Shield just moved straight to Baron.
That's going to be easy, Baron, for them. Not only did they kill Wickd, but they got huge chunks out of the rest of Alliance, and there's no ward coverage. You cannot face check this team. Najin White Shield now going to march on that top side.
What a comeback by White Shield. Rewind 20 minutes. They were down 7 kills to 0 and had almost no control. But they've been able to control vision from behind, which is one of the hardest things to do.
Controlling the vision, getting 2 picks, and the money funneled onto Tristana. Now she's unstoppable.
Speed boost from Lulu to chase. Don't even know how those little yodel legs can carry her so fast as the turret does go down. Inhibitor will surely follow. Tabzz will step forward, but he's the juiciest of targets, and we already saw the 3-4 hits from Zefa. If he gets lucky with those crits, then you're just going to go down without anything to say. There is the inhibitor falling, and there is just not a lot left now of Alliance's base.
We thought Zefa was scary before. He has 3,000 gold he's about to go by with. So just across the board, you can see a lot of people getting gold in the right places. 16.6 thousand onto Zefa, 16,000 onto Ggoong if we look at the gold. It has just gotten a little bit out of control there. Froggen, the only member on Alliance to really be fed, but even him, it's long cooldowns working in between, and he just cannot keep pace with the damage that Triss Lulu is putting out.
And Froggen has been in these split push scenarios on his own, but the rest of his team aren't pressuring anywhere, so it's pretty easy to shut down in that case, especially when it's Save that comes down that can 1v1 him and outranges him with a teleport.
Yeah, and Zefa got his Bloodthirster as well, so not only is going to have all these shields and spells to rely on defending him, Quicksilver Sash and all that, but he's got immense life shield. Look at that shield, over 2,000 life. 1,000.
So 1,000,
1,000, that's still a big shield.
Well, it's enough to kill off that inhibitor in the mid lane, and that leaves just this bottom side, which, I think White Shield just going to methodically work their way towards the win. Actually, I forgot that the turret was still alive. I didn't realize that one was still there, but they left that from last time. That'll go down. I don't think Alliance will be anywhere near it. Oh, you could just get hooked in like that. Wicked's Guardian Angel is back up, but that's dangerous stuff hanging around there.
With 2 inhibitors down, the third inhibitor is going to be near impossible to hold. I also like how Gorilla built the QSS just in case he's stunned while he needs to use Mikhail's on Zefa. He still can.
Got all the money in the world at this point to spend. And they're just going to set up, wait for that next wave to come through. And Alliance, well, that's the problem. You try to defend from the front side. Zefa just said, okay, I'm going to go for it. At some point, Alliance have to say, okay, we're just going to fight and see how it goes. Because there's no other way that they can win.
It has to be now. Their window has pretty much already passed here. I mean, when you focus on more mid-game oriented team, then yes, you look better.
There we are, Wickd actually is going to dive in, but they go for Tabzz on the other side. Nyph doesn't even get the ultimate down, and well, what's the point in having the Zillion at this stage if you're not going to get the ultimate in there? Zillion will fall. We will end up seeing Wickd go down as well, and Najin White Shield, despite being heavily behind in this game, turn it around and beat Alliance.
They come back from a 7-kill deficit and thousands of gold in the mid-game to a very strong 45-minute late-game victory. We had not seen mid-lane Lulu in quite some time, and it didn't seem like White Shield was going to be able to turn it around, but boy, did they ever.
Yeah, Alliance had that window to work with. They had the team comp and they had the gold that they needed, but the 2 picks they gave up, the map control, they weren't able to secure with vision. Talked about their stats for clearing out wards from Alliance.
Yeah, I will have to take a look at those after the game because it still seems like Alliance is struggling a little bit at securing the vision advantage necessary to go ahead and make plays. The mid game was great, but as soon as the stun locking got countered by White Shield, 3 pairs of Mercury Treads, 2 QSSs, and a Mikhail's Crucible at the end of the game to answer the stun cards from TF and the Equilibrium Strikes from Aurelia. And at that point, the control that Alliance held the team fights was just gone, and there was nothing to stop the damage. A lot of people will talk about Nyph not landing the right chrono shifts, but if everyone is taking a huge amount of damage from all sources, it doesn't really matter if you revive one person.
And I want to go all the way back to where Alliance was sat at 7-0. And the first kill that came down, we said, well, you got to be careful with giving Zefa the kills at this stage because that's how you start to change things around. Then he got a second one. By the end, he was 6-1-5, and you just couldn't control him. Literally, with the shields on him, he could step up to the turret and just pot shot away at whoever was stood too close.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Like, yes, Alliance made the switch over to try to go more mid-game this time around, but that just gives you a window. If you're facing against this Tristana, and that's going to be backed up by Lulu, then you have to jump through that window when you have the opportunity. Or else in the end, then you're going to fall all the same.
And the question now is, what does that do to the morale of Alliance? Because on one side, they'll say we did brilliantly up until a certain point against Shield, and then we just collapsed completely. Does it break them? Does it kind of spur them on? I suppose it depends which half of the game they look at here.
Yeah, they need to realize it's a long group. They have another game today against Ggoong. If they can get that win, it should just say, okay, we're 1-2. We had a close game against Shield. They had a close game against Cloud9 too, even though it didn't look it. And you just have to remember, these are long groups. You play everyone twice.
Yeah.
European teams at Worlds actually have a history of doing poor in the group stage and doing well next game. Fnatic lost their first game of groups last year against Vulcan and then went on to destroy the group. So they need to remember that it's a long event. They still have 3 more days pretty much to play and try and put these losses behind them.
Well, one thing's for sure, they've got to beat Ggoong in that next game. Ggoong are the big underdogs for them. That's a game that Alliance just can't afford to lose. For now, though, it's a fine victory for Najin White Shield, and we're going to send it over to the interview lounge, where Najin White Shield's jungler is standing by with Shops.
Thank you very much, guys. I am standing by here with Watch Jungler for Najin White Shield. First up, Watch, talk to me about the strategy and the team comp you guys end up with in this game.
경기 픽밴에 관해서 좀 설명 좀 해주세요.
저희가 픽밴이 질련을 빨리 가져가면 저희가 미드 질련 상대로 연구한 그런 픽밴이었는데 상대가 서포트 질련으로 바꾸는 바람에 약간 처음엔 경기가 힘든 경향이 있었어요.
So our comp was made against mid Zillion, but then they switched their Zillion to support, so that's why I think we struggled in the early game.
Yes, you said in the video before we have to shut down Froggen. Then he gets 3 kills in the early game. So where did you go from there?
그 사전 인터뷰 때 이제 프로겐 선수를 많이 경계한다고 했었는데 결국 프로겐 선수가 3킬을 먹었어요. 거기서 어떻게 풀어나가셨나요?
너무 프로겐 선수가 잘한다고 생각해서 그 선수에 대해 좀 너무 압박을 받고 좀 말리려다가 오히려 제가 더 말렸던 것 같아요. 그래서 초반에 좀 제가 좀 못한 점이 많아서 아쉬웠는데 팀원들이 워낙 잘해줘서 이긴 것 같아서 팀원들에게 너무 고마운 것 같아요.
We thought that Froggen was a great player, so personally I was too pressured in order to shut him down early game. So that's why I made a lot of mistakes. But gladly my teammates, they cover me up, and I think that's why we were able to catch up.
Yeah, fantastic comeback. You beat number 1 out of Europe. You're about to play number 2 out of North America, Cloud9 later. What do you think of that matchup?
다음 경기 때 클라우드9이랑 경기할 텐데 그거에 대해서 좀 얘기해 주세요.
저희가 사실 D조에선 얼라이언스 팀이나 C9 팀이 가장 잘한다고 생각했고 얼라이언스 팀이랑 C9 팀에 대해 공부를 가장 많이 해왔어요. 그래서 C9에 대한 경기력 그런 건 자신 있고 앞으로 셋이 할 C9과 경기도 되게 재밌을 것 같아서 기대돼요.
So we studied a lot against Cloud9 and Alliance. So we're confident that we paired enough, and I think it's gonna be a really interesting match.
Well, I do as well. Congratulations. Thank you very much. And as for us, we're going to break down this game further over at the desk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. That was an absolutely phenomenal game to kick off day 2 here in Singapore. And Alliance, they did show up. It was Shield's first real test. I want to go straight to picks and bans. Talk about the team comps because we saw Irelia, we saw Twisted Fate, Mid Lulu. Monty, what's your take?
I mean, this was a little wacky, especially from Shield, but I think Alliance had the right idea. Put Froggen on a playmaking champion, Wickd on, his bread and butter pick on Irelia. This is the right direction for Alliance to move in. And as we heard in the interview, we were a little confused about why the mid Lulu was coming up against. I guess they thought it was the mid Zillion.
Yeah, they thought
very
it was a counter pick. I don't know.
Really weird. Also, the top Riven, not something that Save is known for. This is only his second professional game, and he lost his first one on Riven. But just looking at the draft right away, of course, the early draft, Lee Sin, then Thresh and Tristana. But we know Ggoong has Ori, and if they haven't picked their mid laner yet, why not just take the Ori instead of the Lulu? And then, of course, the Riven pick, just a little bit odd as well, into the Irelia. We saw that was not a very preferable matchup for Safe. Had a bit of trouble in the lane swap. But overall, I think a very weak draft from Najin White Shield, and a pretty strong one from Alliance.
I think White Shield also got lucky that they got the lane swap off. If Alliance... This lane swap was actually so obvious in the sense that I don't think Tristana can ever survive lane against Lucian Zillion, that if Alliance just called the lane swap, this game could have gone really brutal.
Yeah, I agree.
Talking about the early game, we do have a bunch of replays lined up, so let's get straight to the first one. It felt like Alliance had pretty good control of the early laning phase. They seemed to make positive moves. Probably talk me through this replay, and then we can discuss some of the early game antics.
So this is right after a small skirmish mid, so they know Watch doesn't have flash. And Froggen takes advantage of this because he sees Thresh hook down, and they go all in and they take out the Lee Sin. And at this point, they have a stronger 3v3 and a stronger 3v2 even. And right now, they just have to kind of focus whoever Froggen's wildcard goes on.
And, one of the things I said earlier when we were coming into this group, Shield is the team that I'm most unsure of, that they are the ones that are most likely out of all the Korean teams to get upset. And a lot of it was, can Watch keep up his performance that we saw in the regionals? He went 0-3-0 early in this game. Just terrible decision-making. Didn't have the knowledge of where Shook was in order to try and make the plays he was trying to make.
And that play just went sour because Zillion showed up all of a sudden. But if your support's already mid, you should be thinking, where is their support going to be? If he's not on the map, he's coming for you. And they completely turned it around. They were far too much overextended at the tower there.
I feel like Alliance, a lot of the win was on the shoulders of Tabzz and Nyph, because once you have a strong TF, the TF's job is essentially to get your AD strong so you guys can rotate around the map, take towers, take objective, and take vision with the support. But Tabzz and Nyph, even with a winning top laner, Wickd was smashing top, even with a winning mid laner, Froggen was 2-0, they didn't really do anything.
Let's talk a little bit about the next replay as we keep rolling onto the points. Let's pull the second one up. This was actually Froggen And he was pushing bottom lane with Wickd if you look at the mini-map. And up in the top, this ends up being quite a dramatic fight. Double F start this one off, and then everyone can chime in as the clip rolls out.
So this is just classic Gorilla. He lands a hook on Tabzz. He's been landing hooks the entire game, and Zefa makes a crucial mistake right here. He overcommits on this when they don't really need to. All he needs to do is hit the champions in front of him. That was a two-man play, and he takes so much damage right here that they actually... yeah, he gets exhausted. He has to flash out. He's at 30% HP. None of that was necessary. He could have been attacking this entire time from the safety of behind Watch and behind Gorilla. But in the end, it's just this really clutch move that saves them from getting triple kill here by Tabzz. Watch ends up escaping with barely his life.
Close game.
I just want to talk about briefly the build from Tabzz, because I feel like he's going to get a lot of flack. But actually, this early Bloodthirster Lucian build is something that Najin White Shield did in regionals to great success. The intent of Bloodthirster first into Sheen Trinity Force is to take towers. And the problem was that they didn't take towers. There is no reason that that mid tower should have stayed up as long as it should have. Tabzz needed to get his butt into the mid lane, because when you have that with the Zillion, basically, you can speed up the Lucian. He has the shield. He'll use an ability. He'll proc the Sheen onto the tower, and you can just take tower shots to the face with the Bloodthirster shield. You have to snowball it off of tower pushes in the mid game, and instead he just sat in bottom lane.
On the topic of builds, I just want to look at Nyph as well right now. He spent 800 gold on upgrading his Sightstone. He spent about 1,300 gold going from... or even more, he spent like 1,800 gold going from tier 1 GP10 item to the full upgraded item. That gold could have been spent on mana regen. Zillion is a champion that excels once he gets mana regen. Get tier or showers or both, drop the Moby boots and get a CDR boots, and your E basically speeds you up and gives you the Moby boots anyways in your kit. Your rewinds come up quicker, you get more chrono shifts if you use them properly, and you need a Mikhails against a Thresh, and then once after you don't have the Mikhails, he went for an Aegis against the team comp with Riven top lane, a Fed Tristana, and a Lulu that was barely doing any magic damage in these fights. It's just a crucial build and play error by Nyph. I think he must have been nervous or just not comfortable in playing Zillion.
Yeah, I mean, just... you guys are right. We're giving Alliance's bottom lane a lot of flack because really they did play really poorly. I think Tabzz and Nyph had very little game impact and were irrelevant despite the fact, like, once again, Wickd is so strong. He's ahead top lane. He's ahead of save. Froggen is so ahead mid lane, but they just don't do anything. But I will say, Gorilla played out of his mind. A lot of these plays, the game-winning plays, the ones that turned around, gave Najin White Shield's avenues to get back into the game, like Dragon getting towers. It was all Gorilla that kind of just hit those magic hooks, and I think that's why Thresh is such a high-priority champion.
I want to keep rolling this one on. We do have a team fight that I think really just completely sealed the deal for Najin Shield. It is the mid lane team fight where Zefa's kind of hanging out on the side lane. So Crepo start this one off, and I know Probably wants to chime in a little later. Let's roll this clip out and talk me through what Shield did right.
I mean, Shield is just disengaged right now, and then they're just waiting for a turn potential. Look at the Riven on the top. They're looking for flanks. They know they need that. Zefa's trying to distract them. Tabzz, he buys into that because he'll dodge left while Wickd's actually going forward. So Alliance is actually splitting themselves up when they don't need to. And the worst part is that the chrono shift's already on Tabzz, who's now out of the fight. Froggen's all the way on the left in a Zhonya's, no chrono shift. He's gonna die. Wickd will die after him. He has a GA. Ideally in these fights, what you want to happen is you want Wickd to go in with the Zillion speed up. You want Wickd to drop, get his GA out. Then the next target that dies gets chrono shifted, and you basically fight a 5 against 7. And you could do that because White Shield was split, but Alliance just didn't exploit their opportunities.
What actually happened in the fight was, yeah, Shield was split, and when Alliance was going in, because that's what you want to do when you're playing TF. He's not the best team fighter, but he's the best when the enemy team's split up. So they get the fact that Shield is split, but the second they start going in, Tabzz goes off for Trist, and then by that time, Riven was able to flank behind, and then it turned into Shield crushing in on them. Instead of them fighting a split fight, they're actually just getting flanked on.
Yep.
One last little stat about the vision for both of these squads. It's something that we were looking at. It felt like Shield just had a ridiculous amount of wards. So let's take a look at those numbers. 152 wards were placed for Shield. They managed to sweep out and kill 48. Alliance were 128 wards placed, but they did kill 41. So I'm a little bit surprised by how many wards they killed, but being, 25 wards down in the same period of game, that is a lot of missed vision, and it's in reply because Shield got their wards down first.
Yeah, that's actually less than I thought, just because the Baron vision for Najin Shield was just so much better, right? And I think that, yes, Alliance did buy a lot of wards, but in the late game, they were not in the right place. You just saw the blue blanket all on the top side of Alliance's jungle. And, you know, I feel like Alliance, they had the picks, they had that early game advantage, they played so well in the early game, but they just misplayed their vision, they misplayed their item builds and their power spikes, and that's what caused them to fall behind. Again, I mean, the builds we saw were good when used properly. The way that AD carry build was used was awful.
Yeah, unfortunately not working out for Alliance. Guys, thank you so much for the input. We do have to take a brief break, and when we return, Samsung Blue will face off against Fnatic in our next game of the Singapore group stage. Guys, stay right with us.
Ignite goes down. Meanwhile, Tabzz taking all the damage. Will be brought back to life thanks to his support. Zefa jumps on. There is the hunt coming in. They kill Shug. Can they kill Tabzz? He's still going. Nyph, though, is all on his own in the middle. They've gone for Froggen, who uses that Sonya's. He gets shut down. Kills coming back in for Alliance, though. Wickd actually is going to dive in, but they go for Tabzz on the other side. Nyph doesn't even get the ultimate down, and, well, what's the point in having the Zillion at this stage if you're not going to get the ultimate in there?